the whale songs that changed the world. How the voices of ocean giants helped bring a species back from the brink. A song older than civilization. For thousands of years, while civilizations rose and fell, whales sang beneath the waves, unheard by human ears. Long before the first pyramids were built, before the first violin was carved from wood, before human beings wrote their first poems, whale voices traveled through the ocean like invisible rivers. Water carries sound far more effectively than air, and certain deep layers, including the natural sound channel known as the SOFAR channel, can guide low-frequency sounds across immense distances with relatively little loss of energy. Under the right conditions, the calls of baleen whales can travel across large stretches of an ocean basin. The whales never knew they had listeners. Perhaps for most of history, they never needed an audience. Then, during the 1960s, humanity finally began to hear them. That act of listening helped bring a species back from the brink. The day humanity began to listen. Imagine standing aboard a research vessel in the North Atlantic during the 1960s. The sea looks ordinary enough. Waves rise and fall beneath a bright sky. Gulls drift overhead. Nothing suggests that several hundred feet below the surface, one of Earth's greatest concerts is already underway. A hydrophone, an underwater microphone, is lowered beneath the waves. At first, there is only the steady hiss of water moving past the instrument. Then from the darkness below, a voice rises, unlike anything most human beings have ever heard. The first notes are almost impossible to describe. A deep groan seems to rise from the ocean floor itself. It is followed by long, trembling cries, rhythmic pulses, metallic clicks, and haunting whistles. The sounds are strange, beautiful, and oddly emotional. They resemble neither human music nor language, yet somehow feel like both. The singer is a humpback whale. For biologist Roger Payne, hearing such sounds was life-changing. Trained as a scientist but raised in a musical household, he immediately recognized that the calls were not meaningless noise. They followed elaborate, repeating patterns. Payne came to regard humpback songs as among the most moving sounds made by any animal on Earth. Until then, most people knew whales primarily as enormous creatures hunted for meat, oil, and baleen. Very few imagined that they were musicians. When the world finally heard the whales, humanity discovered the complexity of whale song at the very moment. Many whale populations were disappearing. During the 20th century, commercial whaling became an industrial enterprise. Factory ships and explosive harpoons enabled fleets to pursue whales across the open ocean, killing them on a scale earlier hunters could never have achieved. By the mid-1960s, humpback whale populations had fallen to a small fraction of their historical numbers, and extinction had become a real possibility in many regions. NOAA estimates that most populations had been reduced by more than 95% before the international moratorium on commercial whaling. Some researchers estimated that the global humpback population had declined from roughly 100,000 animals to as few as 7,000, although historical estimates vary because of limited records and differing methods of calculation. Extinction no longer seemed unlikely, it seemed inevitable. Roger Payne faced a difficult question. How could he persuade ordinary people to care? Scientific reports alone would not be enough. People protect what they love, and they rarely love what they have never encountered. Payne understood that if people could hear what he had heard beneath the waves, they might never look at whales in the same way again. He and his colleagues studied and shared recordings made with underwater microphones. In 1970, the album Songs of the Humpback Whale carried those voices far beyond the scientific world. Millions of people listened. Families played the record in their living rooms. Teachers introduced it in classrooms. Radio stations broadcast the eerie melodies. National Geographic distributed the recording to an enormous audience, and it became the best-selling nature album of its time. The songs helped give the emerging Save the Whales movement not merely a slogan but a powerful emotional cause. The recordings transformed whales from distant giants into individuals with voices of their own. Music has a way of crossing barriers that facts alone rarely can. A statistic informs the mind, but a song can reach the heart. Around the world, people who had never seen a living whale began demanding that whales be protected. Public pressure grew and attitudes toward commercial whaling changed. The International Whaling Commission voted in 1982 to establish a pause in commercial whaling, setting commercial catch limits at zero beginning with the 1985 to 1986 season. The moratorium came into full force in 1986 and remains in place, although several countries have continued whaling under objections, reservations, or outside the Commission's rules. Few moments in modern history demonstrate more clearly that science and beauty, working together, can change the course of the world. The language of giants. How whale songs evolve. Saving whales was only the beginning. Once scientists began listening carefully, they discovered that the songs themselves held astonishing secrets. Male humpback whales produce long, complex songs, particularly during the breeding season. Most researchers agree that the songs are connected to reproduction, although their exact purpose is still debated. They may advertise a male's fitness, organize competition among males, attract females, or serve several purposes at once. To scientists, a humpback song resembles a carefully organized musical composition. Individual sounds called units combine into phrases. Repeated phrases form themes, and a sequence of themes becomes a complete song. One performance may last from several minutes to half an hour before the whale begins the pattern again. Some males continue singing, with pauses and repetitions, for many hours. Even more remarkably, males sharing the same breeding region generally sing the same current version of the song. Yet that version is never permanent. As months and years pass, notes shift, phrases change, and themes are rearranged. The singers gradually create a new composition together. Scientists call this process cultural transmission, information learned socially rather than inherited through genes. Like human fashions, stories, or musical styles, whale songs are copied, altered, and passed from one individual to another. Sometimes the change is gradual. At other times, a dramatically different song introduced by one population spreads through neighboring populations and replaces the older version. Researchers have documented such song revolutions, moving eastward across the South Pacific over thousands of miles. It is one of the most striking examples of large-scale cultural exchange discovered outside the human world. Why do humpbacks continually rewrite their music? Scientists still do not know. Novelty may make a male more noticeable, or changing songs may reflect competition and cooperation among singers. For now, the ocean keeps part of its secret. Orcas and pod dialects, evidence of animal culture. Humpbacks are not the only great communicators beneath the waves. Orcas, commonly called killer whales, are actually the largest members of the dolphin family. They live in close social groups called pods, many of which are organized around mothers, daughters, sons, and grandmothers. Family members may remain together for life. Different orca communities use distinctive collections of calls, often described as dialects. Young animals learn these vocal traditions from their mothers and other relatives, much as human children learn the speech patterns of their families. Pods may also pass down specialized hunting methods, preferred foods, travel routes, and social customs. One population may hunt fish, while another, living in nearby waters, hunts seals or other marine mammals. These differences are not simply determined by what food is available. They are traditions taught and maintained within communities. Scientists increasingly regard such behavior as evidence of animal culture. Whales do not merely inherit the bodies that allow them to survive. They inherit knowledge and then teach it. A conservation victory, but not the end. The history of whales is no longer only a story of destruction. It is also a story of recovery. Decades of protection have allowed many humpback populations to grow. Whales have returned to migration routes and feeding grounds where they had nearly disappeared. Whale watching now supports coastal communities around the world, replacing the harpoon with the camera, and transforming living whales into a renewable source of wonder and economic value. Their recovery reminds us that when people choose to act together, nature can sometimes heal. Yet the future of whales is not secure. Modern dangers differ from those of the industrial whaling era. Whales become entangled in fishing gear and may drag heavy ropes for months. Ships strike them along busy migration routes. Increasing noise from engines, construction, sonar, and other human activity can interfere with communication in an environment where hearing is essential. Pollution accumulates in marine food webs, while climate change alters the distribution of krill and fish, on which many whales depend. Commercial whaling has not vanished either. Japan and Norway continue commercial hunts, while Iceland's industry has repeatedly faced declining demand and economic uncertainty. The global market for whale meat has weakened, but legal and political struggles over whaling remain. The threats have changed. The need for our attention has not. The last note. Perhaps the greatest lesson whales offer us is not about biology. It is about attention. For centuries, the songs were always there. The whales had never stopped singing. The silence had belonged to us. Once we finally listened, something changed. Not in the whales, but in ourselves. Compassion often begins with curiosity. Curiosity begins with listening, and listening can change history. Today, somewhere beneath the blue surface of the ocean, a humpback whale begins another song. Its melody moves through cold water, across underwater mountains, and into darkness older than civilization itself. The singer does not know that the voices of earlier whales helped inspire one of the greatest conservation movements of the modern age. It does not know that people who once hunted its ancestors now travel thousands of miles simply to witness a whale rise from the sea. It simply sings. Perhaps that has always been enough. Whale calls can cross extraordinary distances through the ocean, making these animals some of the farthest-reaching communicators on Earth. Yet perhaps the greatest distance their voices have crossed cannot be measured in miles. It is the distance between fear and wonder, between exploitation and protection, between hearing a sound and recognizing a life. The ocean still carries songs that began long before the first human story was told. We cannot hear them from the shore, but they are there, traveling through the darkness, changing from season to season, passed from whale to whale. Perhaps the greatest miracle is not that whales sing. It is that, after thousands of years, humanity finally learned to listen.
It's time to study new words in context. 1. Brink. Definition: the point where something is about to happen, especially something dangerous or important. Example: the injured bird was on the brink of death before it was rescued. 2. So far. Sound fixing and ranging. Definition: a deep layer in the ocean, where sound can travel very long distances without becoming much weaker. Example: whale songs can travel far through the SOFAR channel deep in the ocean. 3. Baleen whales. Definition: large whales that have baleen instead of teeth. Baleen is made of long, hard plates that help whales catch tiny sea animals and small fish. Example: humpback whales and blue whales are baleen whales. 4. Moratorium. Definition: an official decision to stop an activity for a period of time, often until people can study the situation or solve a problem. Example: the government announced a moratorium on whale hunting to help protect the animals. 5. Novelty. Definition: the quality of being new, different, or unusual. Example: the novelty of the new game made many children want to try it. 6. Pods. Definition: groups of whales or dolphins that live and travel together. Example: a pod of orcas work together to catch fish.
Comprehension questions. 1. Why were whale songs unheard by humans for thousands of years? Answer: because whales sang deep beneath the ocean, where humans had no way of hearing them. 2. What is the SOFAR channel, and why is it important? Answer: The SOFAR channel is a deep layer of the ocean that allows low-frequency sounds to travel very long distances. It helps whale songs carry across large parts of the ocean. 3. Who was Roger Payne, and why is he important in the story? Answer. Roger Payne was a marine biologist who helped record humpback whale songs. His recordings introduced whale music to millions of people and inspired the Save the Whales movement. 4. Why did Roger Payne believe people needed to hear whale songs? Answer. He believed that if people heard the beauty of whale songs, they would care more about protecting whales. 5. What happened when the album Songs of the Humpback Whale was released? Answer. Millions of people listened to it, and it helped change public opinion about whales. It also strengthened the Save the Whales movement. 6. Why were humpback whales close to extinction in the 20th century? Answer. They were hunted in large numbers during commercial whaling, which greatly reduced their population. 7. What action did the International Whaling Commission take in the 1980s? Answer. It voted to stop commercial whaling by introducing a moratorium that began in the 1985 to 1986 season. 8. Why do scientists think male humpback whales sing? Answer. Most scientists believe the songs are related to mating and reproduction, although the exact reason is still not fully understood. 9. What is meant by cultural transmission in whale songs? Answer. It means whales learn songs from one another, instead of being born knowing them. The songs are passed from whale to whale, like human traditions. 10. How do humpback whale songs change over time? Answer. New sounds and themes are added while older ones disappear. Sometimes a completely new song spreads from one whale population to another. 11. What makes orca pods different from one another? Answer. Different pods have their own dialects, hunting methods, food preferences, and family traditions. 12. What modern dangers do whales still face today? Answer. They face threats such as fishing gear, ship strikes, ocean noise, pollution, climate change, and, in some countries, commercial whaling. 13. According to the article, how has whale watching helped whales? Answer. Whale watching has given people a reason to protect living whales, because they bring income through tourism instead of being hunted. 14. What is the main message of the article? Answer. The article shows that listening to whale songs changed the way people viewed whales and helped inspire one of the world's greatest conservation efforts. 15. What does the author mean by the final sentence? Humanity finally learned to listen? Answer. The author means that people finally began to understand, appreciate, and care about whales, instead of seeing them only as resources to use. Listening changed human attitudes and led to better protection for whales. 16. Do you think music or art can change people's minds more effectively than facts alone? Why or why not? Sample answer. Yes. Music and art can touch people's emotions, making them care more deeply about a problem. Facts are important, but emotions often inspire people to take action.